It's okay if I move my mic?
I know.
Oh, Gene, you never could.
We should open the curtains, it's dark in here.
It is. Hey,
Call the meeting to order. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the June 19th, 2018 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented?
Make a show.
With the addition of M1, Code of Conduct discussion.
If you didn't follow the rules, my hand is
All
up.
right. Councillor Bevan makes that motion. All those in favor? Motion carried.
I'll just call it. My hand was
You
up.
don't have the floor, sir. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the May 15th, 2018 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Chenard makes that motion. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We have a public hearing this evening. Proposed bylaws 2208, amending the land use bylaw by removing portable and inflatable signage references, and 2209, licensing of portable and inflatable signage. And I will call the public hearing open.
I will recuse myself.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen. He's recusing himself due to a conflict of interest. Is there anybody here that would like to speak at the public hearing?
Your Worship, these bylaws have been heavily advertised, and we've had consultation, discussion prior, so there was some input from affected business owners, but most of their input has been incorporated. And so during this time period where we've been advertising the public hearing, we haven't heard anything written or verbal from anyone. I think we've actually written in all the changes by now.
Okay, sounds good. I know we've had a pretty robust process on this one, so we'll just keep the hearing open for another 30 seconds or so, just in case.
We're not allowed to comment yet.
You too. The peach member. Will look good on TV.
That's what this is all about, Councillor Wilkinson.
Isn't it just? The lipstick's uncrooked now. It's because of Dawn, isn't it?
I will neither confirm nor deny.
All right, since we have nobody here to speak on this, we will close the public hearing. We'll move on to item E. If you want to grab Councillor Sorensen. We have a delegation this evening from Cascade Power Project. Gentlemen, if you want to step forward.
Yep. And you can just advance it with the keyboard there.
Perfect. So I'll just ask you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go around the table and introduce our council members.
Sure, thank you for allowing us to come talk to your council. My name is Guido Bachman. I'm Vice President of Operations at Cascade Power. As Rob Thomas, he's Director of Regulatory for Cascade Power.
All right, thank you very much. We'll just go around the table. If you want to start, Councillor Chenard.
Actually, Councillor Jean Chenard, pleased to meet you.
Councillor Jackie Curry.
Councillor Troy Sorensen.
Mayor Kevin Zahara.
Councillor Crystal Byer.
Councillor Trevor Bevan.
Councillor Janet Wilkinson.
Welcome, and take it away.
Great, thank you. Let's just start here. So I got a small presentation here. We'll talk about some introductions, which we already did. A little bit about our company, the project that we're talking about, and our project schedule, and Rob's going to kind of fill in the last part of the project here. So let's talk about Cascade Power. Cascade Power is a portfolio company of a OP Trust. It's Ontario pension trust of the in Ontario. Basically, OP Trust stands for Ontario Public Employees Pension Trust in Ontario. It's a medium-sized pension trust out of Ontario, about $20 million in asset size. One of our sister companies owns a 700 megawatt, partially built and under active development combined cycle project in Peace River area. We acquired the Shell Carmen Creek power project that was canceled in 2015. That was a 50% complete power plant, and it's currently under active development. We are basically looking to build, own, and operate large power generation facilities in Alberta, and we like, and our objective is to do this through clean tech or combined cycle power projects in the province. We are focused on the basically design, construction, operations, maintenance, ownership of gas to power facility, and this facility here that we're proposing in Edson, or slightly to the west of the town of Edson, is no different than any other project we would undertake in Alberta or across Canada. Our company is active across Canada, primarily in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario. Our head office is in Calgary, Alberta. So a project that we're looking at here is a 900 megawatt power plant, utilize natural gas as fuel and deliver all power into the Alberta Integrated Electric System. We're doing this project to be in time and in tune with the capacity market changes to the Alberta grid. That's where the Alberta grid is going from an energy-only market to a capacity and energy market, proposed to occur in 2021. The project will be developed in 2 phases. The first one, 450 megawatts, and shortly on the heels of that, the second 450 megawatts. At 900 megawatts, it can provide 90 power to 900,000 homes in Alberta, of clean tech, clean power, using natural gas as the base fuel. The project will require some electricity to power it when it's not running, natural gas, of course, and a water source. And that is something that we'd like to talk to you at the end of our presentation. The site is considered a really nice site, very favorable for us because it's very close to Edson. It's just off Highway 47, and as you can see by this map, it's not too far from the town of Edson. It's kind of located about southwest, just on the east side of Highway 47, right by the Bickerdike substation. So we've done some preliminary evaluations in on the site already, and on the map on the right side there, my right, your left probably, shows the size that we're looking at taking from the Crown land. We've initially identified a 52 hectare parcel and are in the preliminary stages of acquiring this project. We've done a number of evaluation already. This is expected project schematic. At the end of the day, this project during construction will employ about 500 people. And the construction period is about 2 years. It'll employ 25 people on a full-time basis for a long-term period of time. And we expect that that project to start to be underway under construction probably in about 12 to 18 months from today. I'll let Rob take over from here.
So we spent the last 4 or 5 months looking at different proposed sites within the Edson area. And that, again, what Guido had mentioned about what we were looking for is close proximity to both the transmission system and also the gas. And that we found this site. We've done some preliminary geotech drilling in that to take a look and see what was there, and how with bedrock and such. We've started some initial consultations with the First Nations that the ACO office told us that we had to talk with. Those were just preliminary for our temporary field access. We've developed sort of our consultation plans for those different groups, and we'll move forward with them in the next phase once we start to apply for our lease and such. The environmental field work started in mid-April, and that basically consisted of a bird survey in that area as well. We'll have more environmental work done at the end of this month, and we're right now just preparing an application to the Canadian Environment Assessment Agency to make sure that we don't have to do a full-blown environmental impact assessment and that. And we're also doing our APIA application, which is the application that covers the environmental aspects, emissions, ground, soil, water, and that. So those are the things that we've commenced. The consultation activities, you'll be happy to know you were actually second on our list of people to talk to. And the Yellowhead County Council will be meeting this morning, so you're our #1 first consultation on that. So just so you know, so we're planning on doing doing the project announcement in early July to the general public. That'll be mailing packages, both to the local and regional, area. We'll have a couple rounds of talking to all the people within 800 meters, houses that are within 800 meters of the site. There aren't that many. And as well, we'll do a couple of mailings to within the 2,000, 3,000 meters of the proposed boundaries. We'll have a couple of open houses. We plan on in July, possibly then another one in September, which and also we'll also be doing the Indigenous communities consultations at the same time concurrently through that period. At that point, we would then submit of all of our applications probably to the Alberta Utilities Commission, and also the appeal application for the environmental approvals and such in October. So you can see the schedule here for we're at the end of 2022, or the beginning, sorry, 2022 would be the in-service. So we start with in 2018 the permitting, consultation, front engineering, all that. We submit our applications in 2018. 2019 we get the engineering finalized, and then we start construction in 2020 and have it complete in the beginning of 2022. We'll talk about the technology.
Well, the technology is very straightforward. It's a large industrial-based gas turbines with a large steam turbine, and we utilize a closed-loop water system that converts water into steam energy that drives the steam turbine. This is a advanced steam turbine, gas turbine combination on a single shaft, so the gas turbine and the steam turbine on a single shaft driving a single generator. And this combination is one of the most efficient type of projects in the world. Efficiency is estimated to be in the low 60%, like 62%, which will put it to one of the most efficient plants in the province. It means to fuel this plant, we'll be utilizing natural gas off of TransCanada, and about 140,000 gigajoules per day of natural gas to fire this project when it's complete. We expect that the project would start, like as Rob mentioned, in 2022, but there'll be a lot of commissioning going on in 2021. One of the first things that we'll be doing when we complete financing is ordering the long lead equipment, and then we'll take the summer of the 2020 portion to complete the infrastructure required to accept the equipment. So during 2021, there'll be quite a few large loads going through the town of Edson. Some of these loads are 500 tons in size, and they're very, very large. So we'll be looking for a lot of a good transport corridor through the town, and because that's the only way they'll be getting here into this site. And they'll get north as they go south on Highway 47. There's some big hills there and kind of a couple bridges. So we'll probably end up spending some money on the road and bridges, I would imagine. So one of our reasons for doing is that there's a lot of talk in the province about improving air emissions in this province related to power generation. This project accomplishes that. What we see in Alberta as a result of the transition to renewable and natural gas fired generation in this province, these types of projects are required to continue the long-term reliability of power in this province. This will provide reliable, on-demand power, be able to dispatch to manage to keep the grid whole during the variability of renewable energy, and act as a transition into a much cleaner emissions environment for Alberta here. The efficiency and optimization of this project is a key driver for us, and we see this as being a fundamental power plant that will, and eventually by 2030, will replace and will be the main baseload power support or power production in this province. So this is the first of a few plants that will be going in over the next 10 years. As I mentioned previously, when we commence work, we'll have 400 to 500 up to 700 people in peak construction, but the average during construction will be around 300 persons. The work effort expected is 800,000 man-hours per phase in the local area. Capital investment project is about $1.5 to $1.8 billion. The operations and of the project we think plays a pivotal role in Edson, and this type of project can transform the town significantly, particularly with the addition of a few dozen long-term, highly technical jobs in the province, in the area. So, Erin mentioned earlier that we've got some questions here, but we do have an ask of the council. One of the things that I mentioned is that the project does require water. And we understand that you put gray water into the river. We would be willing to take that gray water and use it for our boiler feed makeup water at our park project. We need about 200 gallons per minute.
Get
Continuous
flushing.
basis. We'd like to know who to talk to about that.
Okay. Thank you very much, and CO Derek Cott will connect with you. I think there's some possibilities there. We do actually sell gray water in our communities, so there might be some possibilities there. All right, we'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Sorensen will be last. Hold on. Councillor Chenard.
Yeah, actually a two-part question. We've had other presentations with the water, so we do have a lot of the information for you of how many gallons and stuff. It was a different project with water. My question for you is, are you gonna be a power company, or are you just gonna add to the grid and then sell under some other name, like there's Maine Power people?
Yeah, we're through our relationship with OP Trust, we have a number of projects underway in the province.
Right.
And our intention is to be a power company in Alberta with some significant generation assets in the province.
So then, I'm gonna say, like, let's say ADCO. So you would be like an ADCO, so if you had a power, then consumers would have a choice to buy from you once you're up and running, is that correct? Or just on the grid?
No, we would be selling directly into the power pool.
Okay.
And the companies like ATCO Retail would purchase it off the power pool, or purchase directly from us, but to resell it to clients. We're a wholesale power producer.
Okay, that was what I was trying to figure. So you're a wholesale on the
Yes.
grid. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, I've got a different map up here than you guys got, but anyway, you say taking gas off of TransCanada.
Yes.
How close is the line there?
5 kilometers.
So are you guys putting that in, or do they put it in?
We'll put it in, they'll put the meter station in.
Okay.
So we expect to tie into TransCanada at the Repsol gas plant,
Yeah,
at the Edson meter station.
yeah, because Repsol, actually, line goes right by you guys' place also with the Pado line that ties into Repsol.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a number of lines in the area, but
Yeah.
we'll be going right to TCPL there. There's some smaller TCPL lines that are kind of a little bit easier to go to, but they're not large enough to support the gas needs.
Okay. I had a question on water, but you answered it. So your lodging will be in town here?
We don't
won't
know.
have anybody on site lodging? Will
That's going to be, the company that will build it will be, we're be doing it through a EPCM or EPC basis, through some large organization, probably, there's a lot of companies out there that do this in town, PCO, Black and Beach, other companies that have done this, and they'll be managing the lodging on their behalf. We don't get involved in the lodging part.
Okay.
But we expect that they'll have a camp maybe somewhere, or maybe in town. It's very close in town. We would propose to have it in town.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bevan. Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to the delegates here. So during construction, do you anticipate that you'd be hiring local workers, or do you have a specialized group that would be coming in from elsewhere?
We are desirous of using local workers in the town here.
Okay.
That's the best fit for us both on a cost basis and availability basis, is to utilize local resources as much as possible.
Right, thank you, Councillor Byer. Councillor Wilkinson.
Did you report to the former council here?
No.
Okay, so was it a similar plant as yours that we had a presentation with the former council? Oh, it was the same steam energy, and it was just a huge amount of water being used.
You want me to answer that question?
We'll get
Okay.
We'll get
All right,
Councillor
sorry.
Shedd to clarify that here in a few minutes.
All right, no, I just thought that I had heard this before, so sorry.
Okay. Councillor Curry or Councillor Sorensen, have any questions? Councillor Sorensen.
I have a few. Through the chair, how many power plants do you currently have operating?
We have a small power plant that we operate in southern Saskatchewan. It's basically it's a flare gas to power plant. It was a reference plant for a technology we were advancing. We've kind of outgrown that one a little bit. But the plant that we have, we do not have any large power plants in operation. We have our project that we're developing in Peace River, 700 megawatts. Our portfolio company owner, OP Trust, owns and operates a number of renewable energy projects, wind and solar, as well as some thermal projects through their other portfolio companies.
Okay.
Through the chair, will you be marketing this energy as a green energy or higher rate than I know?
No, it's clean tech, one of the great.
But it'll be sold at the same rate.
Yeah, it may have some green component on it or carbon credits because of the efficiency, but that's we don't put much into that right now.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen. We'll come back to you if you have more
Yeah.
questions,
Okay.
Councillor Curry. Okay, Councillor Chenard.
Just to clarify, it was natural gas and water, but it was a fuel company. They were gonna take natural gas and make it into other fuels. So it is similar, the water and the gas.
So I just
and
remember
similar
the
land.
water issue being a huge, huge thing.
Yes, and what they're
The amount
explaining.
of water being used.
Yeah, because what they're explaining is, I think we had a similar project, they're using natural gas, almost identical, but it was a different
Just
project. It
identical.
involved steam and natural gas.
Yeah, we're familiar.
We're familiar with the project.
We're familiar
Okay,
with the project,
good.
yeah.
I'm not
So
just
we have water
Thank you.
volumes available for you.
Yeah, we're familiar with that particular
Okay.
project. It's probably located directly west of our
Oh,
site.
good, okay.
And that project is, it's still being discussed.
Yeah.
But that project requires and consumes tremendous amounts of water.
Right.
We don't. One of our approaches to in all of our projects, and all the projects that I've ever done in Alberta or Canada or the world anywhere, is the avoidance of environmental impact, which is such as water usage, wetlands, anything like that, we just avoid.
Are you proposing a purchase price for our water then, to help pay for our new plant that we just built? Just saying that clean water?
Free. We'll build the line.
The water's nice and clean. We
All
just
right,
spent money.
thank you, Councillor Chenard. Councillor Bevan.
Once you get up and running here, are you gonna be hiring local people to run it, and do they have to have their steam tickets?
They will need to require steam tickets.
And it would be at a level, what, on the steam, 1, 2, or 3, or?
We'll need at least 2 top steam tickets, class 3.
Okay, because there are people out here that, do have steam tickets and that.
Yeah, we expect that the work, there'll be, a dozen or 15 operators, 5 or 6 craft people for maintenance, and then some administration people, and then there'll be a combination of highly trained gas turbine personnel and steam personnel on the gas turbine and steam turbine side. And if we can hire local, that'd be great. And but we also expect that if we bring people in, they'll be moving here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Sorensen, and Councillor Wilkinson.
Is there an emissions metric that you can compare your technology to coal, like gigajoules per ton of CO2 or something?
Yeah, this project will produce 0.35 or 0.36 tons of carbon per megawatt produced, compared to 1 ton of coal per coal. It'll also produce about 15 ppm NOx compared to probably, what's the coal, like 100 or more? I don't know what it is, but it's massively a higher amount than natural gas.
Great, thank you.
We'll be well below any of the current environmental standards as far as emissions go and such. And should they change, which they will in the future, we will put on the appropriate equipment to meet those emissions.
And
We've engineered already some of that for that potential.
And looking at using grey water too, which is way more environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Just through the chair mentioning water, which I think is really the new gold, reciprocal agreements seem to work well, and we do need a West End sewer line built out that way too. When you're digging for a line, like.
It's all part of the discussion.
Okay, good, I hope so.
We understand.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much for your presentation here this evening, and obviously this is early in the process, so look forward to future discussions, and I'm sure if you need any details in regards to what we can do with water, Theo Derricotte can direct you in the right direction.
You can be in touch, you can get on the website, so.
I am, yeah.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard.
I like your thought.
All right, so we're gonna, you're free to stick around, or you can feel free to leave. I think some of the media might have some questions for you, so. We're gonna move on to reading of bylaws, proposed bylaws 2208. Can I get a motion, please, that council gives second reading to proposed bylaw number 2208, which amends land use bylaw number 2070 by removing portable and inflatable signage references.
Recuse myself.
Okay, Councillor Sorensen's gonna recuse himself. Councillor Chenard will make that
I'll make the motion.
motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Oh, I
Councillor
do have a
Chenard?
comment. The one thing that I had questioned was the price to pay for business license. I'm very pleased with the changes because I thought before it was unfair, but it's changed and it's
More
very
reasonable.
fair.
Okay, no other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council give third reading to proposed bylaw number 2208? Councillor Wilkinson will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council give second reading to proposed bylaw number 2209, being the licensing of portable and inflatable signage bylaw?
Make it so.
Councillor Bevan makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion, please, that council give third reading to proposed bylaw number 2209?
I'll make it so.
Councillor Curry will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Let's grab Councillor.
Councillor Sorensen. We're going to move on to reports from administration. Can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to waive the $12.50 waste collection fee applied to residents' utility bills for 1 month?
I'm
Councillor.
gonna defer possible conflict.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion, please? Councillor Sorensen will make that motion. And I think we've covered this mostly in our committee of the whole, but if you just want to do a brief recap there, CEO Derricotte.
Yes, thank you. I just have really one thing to add. I think there was some question about where does this money come from in terms of taxpayers repaying themselves, or I heard some public conversation about that. And just to clarify, we had budgeted to begin paying the waste management contract in May. We have not made a payment and will not make a payment until the program is operational, and so we had budgeted that money to go to that, and so that is the money that would be used to alleviate this pressure that we felt there. So there's no additional burden on the taxpayers. In fact, hopefully a small alleviation of any concern there.
Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Wilkinson.
Personally, I'm against this because I think it sets a precedent. Like if we have low water pressure, then maybe we have to refund them their water. So I will be voting against it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Any any further questions or comments? All right, I'll call the question. All
I'd
those.
like a recorded vote, please.
Oh, sure thing. Councillor Wilkinson would like a recorded vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the public participation policy number
Let's grab Councillor Chenard.
LD-5 as presented? We'll just hold on that.
Looks like that may be a full-time job for you there, Councillor.
Get extra steps. Too bad it wasn't a challenge.
All right, can I get a motion, please, that council approve the public participation policy number L-D-5 as presented? Councillor Byer makes that motion. And does anybody want to speak to that?
I don't believe we have anything to add,
Okay.
but would be happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Curry.
Through the chair, I just wanted to say thank you, Steve. There's a few things that I had noticed that I thought could use a little bit clarity and changing, and they're in there, and I think it looks great. So thank you.
Any other further questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that Appendix C of Schedule A of the Fees, Rates, and Charges Bylaw number 2214 be amended as follows. Under residential waste collection, the following wording be removed from the base rate per month. Base rate per month, removing for the collection of a maximum of 2 units of refuse. And under residential waste collection, the following charge be removed. Tag charge for each additional unit of waste, $2.
I'm gonna declare it possible. I'm gonna
Okay.
go on caution.
Okay, sounds good, Councillor Chenard. Councillor Byer will make that motion. CEO Derricott, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, this is mostly reflective of the change in our collection system. We now just the amount you can have is what you can fit in your bin, and so there's no longer the need to designate the extra waste that's collected there. And currently, as the system is set up, the additional tag system is going away as well. We really want to encourage people to divert their waste, and so with the inclusion of the organics program and access to the recycling, we're hopeful that we will be able to accommodate basically all household needs under that system.
And more than likely, less garbage is going to be produced. Right?
That's right.
So, Councillor Wilkinson.
Sorry, I can't support this motion either. I only started to recycle when they put on a charge on it after 2 bags that you had to buy a tag, and I thought I'm never buying a tag, which I haven't, and it made me recycle. And I do speak to lots of people, and that has made them recycle. To me, this almost makes it unlimited waste collection, and really, it's a step backwards as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Any further comments? Councillor Curry.
Just maybe through the chair, CEO Derricott, maybe you can speak to it. Is it in here that it's only what specifically fits in the bin?
Yeah, thank you to Chair. Yes, the amount of waste you can, household waste that we will collect in any given, also recall it's a 2-week period is what will fit in that bin. And so when we did some general kind of conceptualization of this, it's approximately 4 medium-sized bags of garbage that fit inside that bin, which is pretty close to what we allow now. And so we felt that it was in line with our current system and in line with the current restrictions. To Councillor Wilkinson's point, we certainly acknowledge and agree that restricting the amount of garbage has been an important aspect of waste diversion, but we feel that this system is in line with those goals and shares those objectives and is intended to help us divert even more additional waste than we have in the past with the adding of the organics option and those types of things. So we feel administratively that it's in line with those objectives.
Okay, thank you, CEO Derricott. Any other further
Sorry,
questions?
just,
comments?
is
Yeah,
it
Councillor
mentioned there,
Wilkinson.
like, I don't read it as that, I'm sorry. I just, under residential waste collection, the following wording be removed from the base rate per month. And I'm not seeing where it says we will pick up 1 bag, and then there's the removal of the $2 charge for an additional unit of waste, so one doesn't correspond to the other to me, sorry.
I'll ask Ms. Sidoric to, got that right, to clarify.
Thank you, through the chair. So no, this is not covered in this bylaw because it's the fees, rates, and charges bylaw, but under the waste management bylaw for this project, it's covered in there that the lid of the garbage can must be able to close properly. So if it wasn't closed properly, it wouldn't be picked up. They would have to have it closed.
Could this just be itemized in this? Clear, just a little clearer for everyone if they're looking at it? Because I just see that your $2 fee is waived and really not anything.
I think that just to add to what Kayla said there, this is just specifically referencing the charges. The functionality of the waste collection system is dealt with in a separate bylaw. Yeah. And no longer, in administration opinion, no longer requires that verbiage in terms of being associated with it.
Okay, thank you, CEO Derricott. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
Like verbiage, I guess.
Can I get a motion, please? There's lots of verbiage in these motions. That Appendix C of Schedule A of the fees and rates and charges bylaw number 2214.
Should we grab Councillor
Oh,
Chenard?
sorry.
Yeah, I apologize. We just need like a little buzzer light or something you could turn off or on.
I just
back
wanna-
there, yeah.
No, because about still.
All right, can I get a motion, please, that, Councillor Sorensen, do you just, are you sure?
I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, we're
at the sewer one.
Can I get a motion, please, that Appendix C of Schedule A of the fees, rates, and charges bylaw number 2214 be amended as follows. The rate per cubic meter for sewer for both residential family dwellings and multifamily complexes and non-residential buildings be increased from 76 cents to $1.21.
I'll make it so.
Councillor Beverin makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chenard.
The only question I have, like on the sewer bills right now, there's an added fee of $14. Are these places charged like per res? So if it's duplex, they pay double, and is there something like like that in there as well? Because if we're increasing them and they're already paying, I'm just trying to go fairness.
CEO Derrick.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and perhaps Sarah can correct me if I get this wrong, but it basically for each sewer connection, you pay $14.25 for the capital portion of the wastewater management program. So, if you're in a home that has 2 suites, but there's only one sewer connection, there's only the one charge of $14.25. Same with something like an apartment building or something like that. That was how that was added. That each sewer connection would be have that $14.25 charge added, as I said, in conjunction with the capital cost of the project. This adjustment in the rate is reflective of the additional operational cost and the additional cost of actually treating the sewage, and so then that's on a usage basis. The more you use, the more it costs you to. For us to treat it, and then that cost is on a usage basis.
So then I guess further to it then, in all fairness, if we're charging that, then why would we up them and not others? So if they're using it, if they're a duplex and it goes on how much you use, so then I imagine use would be the water intake would virtually figure out the water coming out. So if they're bringing in 3,000, the water has to come out. So I'm just trying to compare, why are we looking at the multiple dwellings versus a single dwelling?
They're both covered under this.
Okay, so it's covered.
Everybody's
everyone?
covered under
Okay,
this.
I was just trying to
Yeah.
clarify that, and so what we're doing is changing because you're saying these ones, so
Yeah, no.
it
covers
answers
everybody.
my questions then.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
I can't support this again without more verbiage. Up top it says rate per cubic meter and you charge so much, and this just says base rate per month, not with any qualification as to what that means, so that's fine. I can't support it for the residential waste collection part there, page 57, unless there's more verbiage.
We're on
We're on the sewer.
Okay, the whole thing is all together, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
it is.
they're,
Oh, I'm
they're
back
each
to page, okay, well, I'm ready for
they're
the
each
next.
individual
I'm ready for
motion.
the next. Okay,
It is.
okay, okay, that's fine.
All right, any other questions? Councillor Sorensen.
As for the chair to administration, did we have any background on this rate change provided? Was that a council meeting? Sorry.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
There was a
Several months
presentation made. The very, very short version, this still keeps us below the regional average on utility rates. So we're very comfortable that we are in line with the process. The reality is just costs more to run the type of plant that we have, and so we're just reflecting that in the usage rates. But
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
You guys step counter on?
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go right ahead, thank you. Can I get a motion, please, that a section be added to Appendix D of the Schedule A of the fees, rates, and charges bylaw number 2214 as outlined in your agenda package? I'm not reading all of that.
I'll make that motion because I like the
Councillor
change.
Chenard, any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chenard, and then
Can you
Councillor
clarify that?
No, no,
Read
no,
this
I'm
all?
fine.
No, actually, my only comment is because I did question the fees and I like the structure better. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pleased with how it changed.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Just a comment that, yeah, I've heard from different people here in the business and like that, and they're glad that we're doing something like this. Now it's a level playing field for everybody. And that there's no saying, is this portable, is this not portable, or whatever, and that they're quite happy with it. And we did look at something like this in our last council, and now I'm glad it's being brought forward, so, yeah. Just
All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those in favor?
I'm up.
Motion carried.
You want me to go find it now?
Yes, please.
Okay, Jack is good at it.
All right, we're going to move on to the 2018 Streetlight Improvement Program. Can I get a motion, please, that Council direct administration to proceed with the 2018 Streetlight Improvement Program to convert streetlights outside the Fortis program into LED and to install missing streetlights in parts of town where illumination is not sufficient, as outlined in administration's attached memorandum, and such project be funded in the amount of $585,323.36 from the Energy Reserve.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Wilkinson makes that motion. We covered this in committee, I think quite lengthy there. I do have one question if nobody else has any questions or comments. Councillor Curry?
My question only would be is, could we do a good job, please, of communicating to the public the additional lights that we're adding with this program? Just because, I mean, we have this map, but that map is not an easy read and numbers wise.
What do you mean? I don't understand your
I
concern
mean, I can
there,
drive
Councillor
around
Curry.
with this map and try to find my spots, but I think it would be really beneficial
Yeah.
for the community to see how we've added and the additional cost, so that they know it's not just the current what we have, but we're actually adding to the service.
If I may add to that, yeah, we do intend to do some messaging on that, as well as the general conversion under the Fortis program to LED lights and the environmental benefits, as well as the light pollution, and so we'll be doing some messaging as part of that, and we'll keep that in mind as well. We certainly have heard just sporadically from residents and businesses about dark spaces, and so I think there'll be some very positive feedback on filling in some of those gaps in the system there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I do have one question. First of all, I think I want to give kudos to administration for really having a look at our town and finding all those dark spaces, because I know that's some remiss when we're looking at those areas as well. I see here in the memorandum that we're installing 24 wooden poles for streetlights. I'm wondering where those will be located and whether or not it'd be worthwhile switching those to steel while we're doing this project.
Sure. Thank you. So the program right now would carry on with the types of poles that are in the area. So those, if there's, wooden pole, and then a gap in a wooden pole, we would put a wooden pole in there. And so I think that it's best to carry on with that project. Deciding whether or not we want to include steel poles, I think, adds a completely new element to the program, and probably is best considered as a separate approach to the project.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve additional funding in the amount of $600,000 to complete the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, and that such funds be taken from the revenue sharing reserve?
Make that motion.
Councillor Bevan will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Bevan?
Yeah, through the chair and that. I don't like that we've had an overrun of this $600,000, which, we have to pay in that. I know that when we build stuff, you look at the blueprints, you do this, and if we're missing a line someplace along the way, I believe that we either go half with this company on it or whatever, or we don't pay it at all. I know we got to get it back into service here, and that's what's not right now. But I think the $600,000 is way, way, way too much for us. I'm not happy with the overrun on this. I'm not happy that they could not read their blueprints properly and that. This happens sometimes way too often, does it? All of a sudden, we get a figure of, they come at 17 million some thousand, all of a sudden now they come back, we need another $600,000 to finish this project. I don't like it. I think we should talk to AECom and something on this and that. To me, it's overrun way too much. And we didn't know about this. We would have known this before our budget was passed. Would have been a lot easier for us. but we did nothing. And that's the problem we got with it here. I just don't like it.
All right, Councillor Chenard?
The only question I have, I mean, I have to agree with Councillor Bevins, but when we passed the re-budget, when we changed the budget in May, we originally had $1.8 million extra funds, money not spent. So we spent some of the money supporting other projects, but there was approximately $1 million that we put aside into a fund, and I'm questioning where's that $1 million? We shouldn't be taking out of the revenue sharing. We did put the money aside somewhere. It should come out of that and not a revenue sharing account.
CEO Davidcon?
Yes, good. Sarah? No problem. Yeah. Do you mind just coming forward for a moment? She can't hear in the back, so.
I can speak louder.
No. The question was specifically the $1.8 million surplus that they worked with. They obviously allocated some of that, and whether or not there was enough remaining to allocate to this project instead of using the revenue sharing reserve.
Right. What's been allocated from the surplus already, we are left with about 350,000 from the 1.8, so it's not quite enough to cover that. There could be a mixture if that's what the council would desire to do. We could mix that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bittner. Councillor Chenard?
Well, I'm just trying to clarify because, I mean, yes, like, you know, on that, but we had 1.8 and then we gave to 2 projects in town. There were approximately like 800,000, and then, unless I'm wrong, there was about $1 million left. So I'm a little bit confused. There was 1.8 extra or not, but if we allocated somewhere, then technically speaking, it wasn't extra because it was a miss error.
There was a third project that we also had. I
We
can't
also
recall
use
which one.
some to, sorry, through the chair, we
Yeah,
also
sorry.
use some to
For Tiffin.
bring down the tax from 2.9 to 1.9 as well. So we used just over 100,000 of it for that.
Okay.
And then there was money that we're allocating towards the Bench Creek project, I believe, for that as well. So it's takes it down to between 300,000 and 400,000 that are left.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, like the whole project, I wasn't pleased, but I do fully understand we do a project of this size, sometimes rules change and specs change. The only thing I'm displeased is when I asked the question in committee of the whole, engineering could have brought us up to steam sooner than later. Like, you know, when I asked the question, it was January, February, March, so if we would have brought this information prior to passing the next budget, so I fully understand this is our project, we have to pay. But I would just like in the future that we maybe get brought up to steam sooner, so we're not kind of like, oh my God, you know, all of a sudden we're stuck.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thank you. No, I do appreciate that, and certainly Council may or may not recall that at the stage of the budget process, both in the fall and this, it was indicated to Council that we did anticipate cost overruns. We didn't have any finalized numbers at those time that we felt were comfortable bringing forward, and so we were aware and tried to make sure Council knew that this dynamic was going to be coming forward. Also, if I may, Chair, to add, administration worked very, very diligently with both AECOM and the contractor. Their original requests were much, much higher than this, and we worked very hard to share some of the responsibilities and some of the realities of the cost of the contract. So I can assure Council that Mr. Solomon was very, very diligent in protecting the town's interests as part of this project. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that this amount represents only about a 4% overage on the cost of the contract, which is overages are never good, but on a project of this scale or magnitude, a 4% overage I think is probably not the most egregious thing you can have happen. As Councillor Chenard alluded to, you know, specs can change, circumstances can change, and we're not happy administratively. We're never happy when a project goes over, but it does happen, and do our best to alleviate those concerns. And at the end of the day, these are the costs that are being presented to Council for their consideration.
All right, Councillor Sorensen and Councillor Wilkinson.
I need to reiterate my frustration with this overage. Although our portion may be 4%, but we did have 8% put aside for reserve, so this is in fact 12% over on the total project. I don't think we have any choice today, but I would encourage administration to come back for future projects with some kind of improved strategy to make sure, or to deal with these kinds of issues when they come up. Perhaps some terms in the contract that would protect us, perhaps incentives to stay under budget. I think there's some contractual things that we can do to protect ourselves better next time. And I will be voting in support of this, but I hope admin has a better solution for the next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I know we have to pay it, and I still think municipalities are sort of used as a bottomless pit, which there's just no need for it because it is the people of the town who are going to pay this. I really would love it if we could just say that council would just like to pay half of that and have a cost shared thing. It really was their mistake, and sometimes you have to pay for your own mistake rather than put it on to council.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? I will say that I'm not pleased with this either. I do know that Mr. Solomon has worked hard to ensure that AECOM actually has some skin in this game too. It wasn't the contractor's fault. It was the design for the most part. Administration did mention when we were allocating surplus that there was going to be a cost overrun. We didn't have a number though when we were allocating the surplus. So that shouldn't be a surprise. The number is the surprise, especially. I think some of the frustration is we had the gentleman here from the firm, and they never answered the question correctly when they were asked what was the overrun. And I would have to concur with Councillor Sorensen that this is not just a 4%. It's a 12-13% increase when you're looking at the contingency. So. I know that we have these issues with all kinds of projects, and I know the provincial government, same sort of deal in the federal government, and that's a system that doesn't necessarily work in the favor of taxpayers, but we're kind of hand-tied. I will actually be voting against this, and because I don't believe all of this should be coming from the revenue sharing reserve. I think part of this should be coming from our surplus, and the remaining coming from our revenue sharing. So we could either have a friendly amendment to that, or I will be voting against and look for a secondary motion.
So Councillor Bevan did make the motion. So if you would like to propose a friendly amendment.
Make a friendly amendment, because I agree with you, that we do not, pay it all like that.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So the motion is now that council approve additional funding in the amount of $600,000 to complete the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, and that such funds be taken from our 2017 surplus, and the remainder coming from the revenue sharing reserve.
Comfortable with that? Sir? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're all clear?
Yep.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that in accordance with the letter dated May 11th, 2018, from the Edson District Chamber of Commerce, council give permission for the summer festival to be held from July 11th, 2018 through July 13th, 2018, with the respective road closures as outlined in such letter.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Bevan makes that motion. Any comments? CO David?
I would just like to mention that administratively, we have approved a number of closures for a few hours for a parade with the VE Day or those types of things. But as there's no formal policy in place, we felt a closure of this magnitude should just be considered by council and confirmed at this table.
Okay, thank you very much.
But we have no concerns.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan and then Councillor Chouinard.
Will we be bringing this to as a policy? Because they kind of go every year on that, so can we do it and, they don't have to come back every year? We can just...
Thank you. Yeah, it is the intention of administration to be bringing a policy to council which would deal with street closures for events and other things of this nature.
Okay, sounds good. And just a reminder to council to direct your comments through the chair, please. Thank you. Councillor Chouinard.
Actually, the questions were answered.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor
Through the
Bevan.
chair to administration. I just have to say, that when the chamber had a meeting here and the town did come down and meet with them and that, they had a lot of questions for them. They were answered. The staff that was down there was on board. Garnet, just about everything you asked him, he said, I'll make it so. He was very good about it. Doug Brown was down there too. He said it would help, but he's no longer with us now. But I mean, I gotta say, thanks for the town for showing up, and asking the questions, asking them and answering them. It was very good, very professional, and that, when they left, everybody was happy with it and that. And they did say, if you have any other questions, please get a hold of them. And that, so everybody was actually really good about it, so thank you.
And Councillor Bevan and myself joined the Chamber of Commerce and Alberta Labour in a walk around on Main Street here a couple weeks ago, and it was great to see the support from the businesses, and I'll have the number if there's any issues that pop up. So I'm hoping for a very successful Summer Festival this year.
Sure.
Anything new to add?
Just new to add that if I'm understanding with the Summer Festival, I'm pleased, like reading through the notes, that the town is helping more with this festival, if I understand it. Like they're getting the cooperation, which in a lot of times the Chamber's putting it on for the benefit of the town, so I'm pleased that we're helping, kind of like we did at Rotary Sundays and other things as it fanned out, and we used our Parks Department, et cetera, to help. That was the comment. That was
I think I would suggest that it's not so much the amount of help. I think we've just maybe got a little better organized, and we're communicating better, and hopefully that will facilitate a more efficient event. But I think the town has generally been supportive and tried to help in these ways, but there's always a chance to smooth out logistical issues, and as the Chamber brought forward some, hey, we experienced this last year, can we do this differently? And I think that those were more the types of things that were discussed in the meeting, and the town is certainly happy to, as you said, facilitate these type of events for our community where possible and where reasonable. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just a comment on Mayor Sahara's comment here was that as we walked around, we didn't find any businesses that said no. They were all supportive of it.
Oh, good.
They were just kind of, I guess, not really informed at some point in time. But everybody we talked to, they were happy to support it. They was, yeah. It was excellent. It was excellent. It was really, really good.
I know my kids aren't voters, but they'll be happy if you support this motion. So.
All right, I've spent more time than necessary probably on this, so all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that Councillor Chouinard be appointed as Deputy Mayor commencing July 1st, 2018, and expiring the first day of November 2018. Councillor Curry makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Well, I got some concerns.
Yeah. We all may have comments.
Is it something we said?
You were picking on me.
Is it a appointment?
All right, hearing none, all those in favor, the motion carried. You're out of order. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the payment of invoice number 462769 in the amount of $236.72, inclusive of GST, from Brownlee LLP for legal services rendered with respect to a confidential HR matter. Councillor Beyer makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the payment of invoice number 465265 in the amount of $314.37, inclusive of GST, from Brownlee LLP for legal services rendered with respect to a confidential HR matter. Councillor Chouinard makes that motion. All those in favor, motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept administration's report with respect to retail cannabis sales for information? Councillor Beyer makes that motion, and I see we have some folks that will speak to this, so I will hand it over to
I don't think, I honestly, thank you, Your Worship. I honestly don't think they have anything to add, just we're prepared to answer questions if there was any. Was that what I understand?
Well, council always wanted us to do a green project.
How long you been working on that one, Ann?
No problem. All right, so we'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Wilkinson and then Councillor
Just through the chair, you're talking about dispensing the information, and then opportunities for commenting electronically will be provided. Will you have it in any other form besides just electronic?
Your Worship, through to the rest of the council, we're having, we had discussed with Mr. Bethji that we're going to be having some opportunities in the paper to do like a paper survey for those who
Okay,
aren't comfortable
okay, thanks.
electronically.
Yeah, I just see that you were
As much
advertising that.
electronically,
Good.
and then
Okay.
at the end of each month during summer, we have the museum book for some open houses. So.
Thank you.
All right. Councillor Chenard?
I was just gonna comment, this is not the kind of green project, but it is business in town. So all this will coincide with the legalization of marijuana, because it was July and it'll follow. So I mean, reading through the notes, good groundwork, and then of course we have to wait for federal laws to impose, so.
The Senate approved legalization today, so we'll see when it'll
See when it actually
take
happens.
Yeah.
Councillor Barr, you had a question?
No.
You're good. Okay, Councillor Sorensen.
This is a bit of a housekeeping, or not housekeeping, but terminology concern. We have maps here with proposed cannabis store locations. To my knowledge, there isn't any proposed locations in Edson, so maybe some alternate wording here that these are the
Possible?
or acceptable,
Allowable.
not even acceptable,
Allowable,
it'd be,
Allowable.
something, just as the land use areas that where we accept an application. I know it's wordy, but
It could concern people
it
if you
can
looked at that
concern if
map.
they see a big orange area.
Every business in town is switching to a cannabis dispensary. I appreciate your concern, Councillor Sorensen. I'm sure Ann will take that under advisement.
Could be a new tourism strategy. Any other questions or comments?
It's time to make green.
Hearing none. We obviously have had a lot of sessions that we've gone through at AUMA and other conferences about this. There's a big unknown here for a lot of municipalities, so I think it's really good that we go out there in the community and see what people are thinking before we put our policies in place. And it'll be interesting to see what people have to say, and I encourage them to get engaged in that process so we can make informed decisions moving forward. So, Councillor Byer?
Sorry, through the chair, I did
Yeah.
have a question. So it shows the separation distances of 200 meters, and maybe I'm reading this incorrectly, and then it says the use, and it has provincial healthcare, schools, libraries, and public parks. So are we trying to have a 200 meter distance from the public parks as well, or am I misreading that?
Your
Mr.
Worship,
Chamberlain?
with Councillor Barr, yes, we are. That's what we're looking at, and this framework that we're rolling out now, the public will be able to have their say as well. They want us to dial it back or not, but these are what we're proposing to start with. So yes.
Okay. And to further that, on the page with the proposed cannabis store locations, it shows around Centennial Park, the yellow and the pink right next to it. Is that consistent with 200 meters, or how is that determined?
Your Worship, what it would be is the general zone would be allowable with a discretionary use, and then within that zoned area, we would then look at that parcel and as opposed to all the surrounding parcels to make sure that it complies with provincial legislation.
So the map just shows the zone, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Sorensen?
That's a great catch, through the chair, that's a great catch as well. I'm wondering if we could net those areas out of the map, just even to address people's concerns to draw buffers around the parks and whatnot so that they're not included in the colored areas.
We can do some work on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think especially around Centennial Park. Go ahead, Councillor Schwartz.
Through to the chair, but we also have to bear in mind, this is new for everyone in the province, so I believe the work is good. This is only proposed areas, and there probably will be provincial laws, et cetera, coming out that will, by law, you have to be a certain meter. So, I mean, we have to understand this is only proposed, it's areas, so it'd be similar to where we're, let's say, selling beer stores and stuff. So, yes, as it becomes more legal, then keep up the good work, and, you know, because we could beat this up to death, and all of a sudden the law says you must be 205 meters. So, you know, good work. Let's not like to get excited about it, but let's move forward with it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Chenard. And just for council's information, the AGLC has not yet received an application for Edson yet. That last check, so and that was a couple weeks ago. So we're maybe a little further behind other communities with this potential issue. So no other questions, comments, or concerns. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the account listing be accepted for information?
Your worship.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but we've missed the counselor reports. and
Okay.
So
Oh, and I've got them.
So we're going back to May 16th. We have a lot to get through, so we'll go with Councillor Chenard first and make our way around the
I'll
table.
start and I won't hog all the FCM stuff because we all had very information. Okay, starting on May 22nd, we have to go back. I had a committee of the whole. May 30th to June 4th, most of us were at FCM. There was tours. The one interesting, well, there was a lot of interesting stuff there, but the one of them was when we went on a tour with Councillor Curry, and it struck me as it was a self-sufficient greenhouse. It was all young individuals got together from 8 years old to 18 years old, and they built a greenhouse. They were on the Dragon's Den to get money. And I mean, everyone in the room, when you're going in, you're almost in tears thinking, these are kids did this. And I'll let you report on some of it as well. But the one young individual was 15 years old and virtually from garbage, looked like all Christmas lights. He invented a thing that would say when to water the plants, and it was up to his phone app. And the total thing is off the grid, so it's something where we want to involve youth in our community. It was very valuable. It might be something we can look at because it does get cold, but it said it never gets below 0. So the invention was very interesting. A lot of the speeches, because the tour buses were packed full and there was a glitch in the system. So I went on the one tour, and the other one were the speeches. Like a lot of it was environmental, plastics, interesting. And the other interesting thing, and I only got to briefly say hi, but the lady, one of the FCM's main speaker, had virtually connections to Edson. It was Joe Clark's daughter. So she was in Edson when she was a child, and we were, me and Councillor Wilson, looking, why do we know the lady? And then when we learned it, you could see the similarities of her dad, very well spoken. Okay, I'll let you guys do the reporting on that. I attended the seniors breakfast as well as the other councillors. HRH with other councillors as well. We were doing the science projects. June 11th was the minister's visit. And on June 11th was also the PAC, and a previous councillor, Councillor Boyce, was actually involved in this lot, so I caught the tail end of it. So 5 years of study of the mills, and they call it their Voight. And what Voight is, they all this compiled information. They spent 5 years studying their 10-year, 20-year, 100-year plan on how they can harvest the trees, and it's a lot of graphs and charts that will allow them, if you're, let's say, taking down 400 meters of trees that go over your quotas. So this is all compiled information they've worked on for 5 years to appease, from your brown trout to your owls to, I learned there was how many different species of trees. So there was a spruce tree and there was 6 different ones, but because they're native. So there's a lot of work involved. So all the credit to these people working with the governments throughout the province. So it was a pretty intense study. And the interesting thing is they planted 11 million trees, and I go, how many did you cut down? Well, they're putting up more than they cut down. So I cut the tail end of it, but it was important because the previous councillor spent a lot of work with this group, so it was very interesting for me. Then on the 12th, we've had I got the dates right, our committee of the whole meeting. And that's it. Everyone's got a lot to report, so carry on.
Councillor Curry.
Okay, thank you. Also had the committee of the whole before before FCM. Was at FCM. I would just add to the tour that we did was fantastic on this idea of getting youth involved in improving the social determinants of health in a community. That was the basis of it, and the kids are learning to be entrepreneurs based on if you want something in your community, then what do you do? So an example of that is they are doing a lemonade stand this year because they want a basketball court. And they were 8 and 9-year-olds doing this. And so the whole concept is that we're teaching them how to be entrepreneurs, but also how to give back to the community. So I thought it was something really good that we could look at. Another tour that I thought was really interesting was on planning. I went to that just for Anne. But it was really fascinating to see how they were really looking at other old facilities and how they can reuse them, and then just using a community approach and involving the community in the process of planning and such. So it was really interesting, and all the speakers were fascinating. It was really great to hear all 4 federal political leaders. Very interesting. I'll leave that because I know everybody else has lots to say. And then also was at the seniors pancake breakfast and the other community of the whole. And then just on the 14th, I just had the Edson District Historical Society AGM and their meeting, and it went really good. And just a few things that I wanted to mention because I think it's pretty good for us to remember is that they have already had 5,356 visitors. That was just from January 1st to June 4th. And then I don't know if anyone knows, but they're now a regular on the route. Every Monday, a bus stops. And it's a tourist group, and they come in, and they've actually said that we have the best coffee there. They love the coffee. And so the museum is just doing more in the sense that they've brought in some snacks there, and then they were just amazed with the actual museum, and then the gift store. And they've had really fantastic reviews. So that will be going on every Monday throughout the summer. So if any of you guys are around on Mondays and wanted to pop in and just say hi to the tourists. So it was just really amazing. That was kind of something that I just wanted to highlight for all of you guys.
All right, Councillor Curry, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
All right, on May 17th, I was at it's in the District Recycling Society's AGM, and they've had a fairly significant redraft of their bylaws. I think in the end it's going to make the organization a lot stronger. May 22nd, the Community of the Whole meeting. Then I went from the 3rd to the 4th, or 30th to the 4th to FCM Halifax. A ton of great presentations. One of the highlights of the trip for me was the mayor and I went for a tour of the library. It was just amazing to see a lineup of people trying to get into that place in the morning. Everything from small toddlers all the way to seniors, everybody wanted to go in there and it looked like they were settling to spend the whole day there, like using computers. You go in there and do gaming, you can read a book, you can do art, you can listen to music, so it was a fantastic tour of that facility. On the 7th, I helped out at the seniors pancake breakfast. On the 8th, I helped judge the science fair at the Holy Redeemer. Great to see so many youth excited about science and technology. That was very encouraging. On the 11th, visit with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Shea Anderson. Great to have him available to us to ask any question that we wanted. And again, on the 12th, Community of the Whole. Thank you.
All right, I get to go next. Lots on the go. May 18th, Councillor Bevan and Councillor Wilkinson and I joined our partners at Yellowwood County on a facilities tour in Spruce Grove. Committee of the Whole on the 22nd, the HRH grad ceremony on the 26th. From the 30th to the 4th, attended FCM, and I have to agree with Councillor Sorensen, the library tour, just amazing. And they let you bring your puppies inside as well. But I think there's so many things to highlight, but actually I always enjoy going through the trade show, and they had pedestrian crossing lights that are solar powered. Councillor Wilkinson was with me, and I think it was phenomenal, and they're not that expensive. So I think that's something we'll talk about at our strategic planning session to see if there's something we can do about that. And also attended a session on youth engagement, which was interesting as well. On the 5th, as I mentioned, Councillor Bevan and I did a tour of downtown with the Chamber of Commerce. 7th, Seniors Week Pancake Breakfast. On the 11th, the Municipal Affairs visit with Minister Shea Anderson. Did that and then traveled to Hinton as we had a private luncheon with the mayors of Hinton and Jasper with the minister and the MLA. Talked about MSI, talked about emergency response planning, especially with the risks in Jasper National Park and what the liabilities could be if the mayor has to call a state of emergency, which is highly likely. And we also stopped at the laydown yard for the pipeline and had a look at that. And so that was good. On the 12th, the Committee of the Whole. On the 13th, I was in Camrose for the Municipal Leaders Caucus. Really interesting discussion on Indigenous relations and municipalities working with our First Nations and Aboriginal partners. Some really good speakers there. Spent a lot of time talking about green funding. Grant programs are currently being redeveloped. Most have been oversubscribed. Asked about if there's any funding for LED streetlights, and there isn't through these programs. But we were able to have a good discussion about that and talked about rural crime and the need for all municipalities to pay. We're lucky that our Yellowhead County partners actually do contribute through the revenue sharing agreement. Other municipalities aren't so lucky, so that was good. Did a facilities tour in Leduc and Edmonton with Councillor Wilkinson and Bevan on the 14th. The Northern Alberta Mayors and Reeves Caucus right after that in Whitecourt on the 15th. On my way to Whitecourt, I found out that our hotel was hit by lightning. So they had to move all the delegates to another hotel, and it was seamless. Whitecourt just did an amazing job. It was a brand new hotel that has to be all rewired now, so it caused a lot of damage. Luckily, none of the delegates were inside. Talked a lot about MSI and the need for predictable, sustainable funding. So that was a really good meeting, and got to fly in an airplane.
You're lucky the lightning didn't hit.
Yeah, I got to fly in an aerobatic plane. It was a surprise by Mayor Rennie and Mayor Chichak, which was really, really cool as they promoted the airport. And Edson and Whitecourt are the only two certified airports west of Edmonton. So besides, of course, Grand Prairie. Media regarding the incident at the mosque yesterday pretty much consumed my day. And then today I met with the Alberta Muslim Public Affairs Council talking about the incident. And they were really impressed with the response that the Edson community gave following that incident, and they hope to use Edson as a community of this is how you rally together and show support. They also made us aware, we had some members of the mosque here, of a grant program that might be available to us to look at about $50,000 from the federal government. The folks with the Islamic Society will be looking at that, and we'll see if we can work together. So that is my report. Councillor Byron.
My report, thank you. Mine is May 16th. I attended the Edson Library Board meeting locally and have been continuing to have some really good discussions there. May 22nd, the COW meeting. June 7th, I attended and helped out at the Seniors Pancake Breakfast at the Fire Hall. June 8th, the Holy Redeemer Junior High Science Fair. June 11th, the Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting in Spruce Grove. And I'll note that Kevin Dawes did officially announce that he is retiring, but I believe he will be presenting to council shortly. And on June 12th, our COW meeting.
All right, thank you, Councillor Barr. Councillor Bevan.
Okay, thank you. Thursday 17th, we had a Community Futures meeting, and their Community Futures doing great in that. One of the things that was brought up was one of the municipalities is going to put a resolution in to have electric charging stations along Highway 16 and into Jasper and Edson and that. So they're going to bring it to AUMA, and apparently there is some funding for it. So they're going to bring it up, and they'd like everybody to support it when it comes up and that, have a talk about it. Also on the 17th, they had an IRC meeting. The 18th, same thing as the mayor and Councillor Wilkinson, we did a tour. 22nd, we had a COW meeting. And on the 26th, I filled in for Mayor Zahir for the judging of the provincial Virathon, and that at Pine Grove Parkland School. It was very good. It's in the Virathon's academic science high school competition. Parkland has won it 5 times, and they won it this year for the 6th time. So they'll be going down to Idaho here to represent us. And the kids that came in there, the youth, were very good. I was really impressed with one of the groups. Only had 3 young ladies there. The rest of them had at least 4, maybe even 5. They done a bang-up job. They end up taking the bronze, which was very close. The judging, when you get and you start judging these young adults here and that, it's really tough because they all do such a good job in presentations and that. And anybody that came in to tutor them on what they were going to talk about and do was just excellent. They had warehouses in there. They had the farm people come in and tutor them and stuff like this and take tours and that. They've done just a fantastic job. And they're going to hold it again next year in, I think it's May 2019, they're going to hold it again. So I don't know if their mayor will be busy or not, but I definitely would like to go again, because it was just great, I tell you, and that. Where are we here? No, didn't go there. Tuesday, we had a chamber walk here with the Mayor Zahara, myself and that, in the chamber. The 7th, seniors pancake breakfast. Minister Affairs on the 11th, committee of the whole meeting on the 12th, and a chamber meeting on the 13th. And the biggest thing that coming up, like was here, July 11th, 12th, and 13th is a summer festival. On the 14th, we also done a facilities tour in Leduc and that. And that is my report.
All right, thank you, Councillor Priven. Councillor Wilkinson.
Sit back and relax. I went touring the sites with Councillor Bevan and Mayor Zahara. And then on the 22nd, a COW meeting. On May 28th, we had a strategic planning meeting for Evergreen Foundation in Jasper. I thought it was in Hinton, so I was a bit late. Whatever, they had changed it. May 30th to June 3rd, I went to FCM. On the 31st, I went on a study tour, Rural Resourcefulness, how community partnerships are supporting dynamic rural centers. And this was how they turned a strip mall into a library, a gym, and a community center, which was really a great place for teens. And what I really liked, they had a handy little sort of down-home kitchen that people could just gather at. On the 1st, I went on a tour putting it together in Dartmouth, the 4PAD, arena and a recreation facility. What I learned there, which they didn't have, is that we need adequate seating for parents and fans, and we also need room for teams to warm up. Like, they do have warm-ups, all the hockey teams, so they need a place to go. The mayor's welcome was absolutely great entertainment. I felt that Halifax really did itself proud.
I have dancing videos, but we won't talk.
We do. We just had fun up there in the front seat, so that was good. They did have great displays, and that traffic light was really very interesting. On the 4th of June, I went to the Step It Up Barbecue. On the 5th, I had my regional FCSSA meeting. Ken Dropko came, who's our ministerial official. Deb Teed, our current CAO, our president. They have learning modules up through Mount Royal College for FCSS directors to take online, which really helps. And there was also Karen Tatanich came, and she's an outcome measures trainer, because it's a lot of work to fill in all this paperwork for everyone, so I felt that that was very helpful. Just out of curiosity, in Swan Hills, that employs 200 people at their waste treatment center. And in Whitecourt at Alan and Jean Miller Center, 70 plus get a free membership, so just in case you wanted to know. June 6th, we had another meeting with Evergreen Foundation, and it was in Hinton on June 6th. And our main thing there was a definition of eligibility for social housing, permanent resident refugees or sponsored refugees, and they will be taken if there's no wait list, because it becomes a question of where do we get the money to pay for the facility that they're using, because you have to have some way. Whispering Pines in Grand Cache got a $90,000 grant to redo its roof. June 7th, seniors breakfast, it was very well attended. And the 11th, of course, the meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Shea Anderson. The 12th, the COW meeting. The 13th was a site meeting at Parkland Lodge. The 14th, we had a facility tour again to Leduc and Clairview. I felt in Leduc, we were so lucky to have Daryl Melvey there, who had worked here before for the county. And it was interesting. They built over their existing arenas, and they did have curling. I felt Clairview was quite a waste of space, actually. On the 15th, I went into FCSSA in Edmonton, so we had reports from all the different areas. And just the day of the accident, I had to go and fill in for Kevin, for Trevor, for me. And it was very interesting to see the Air Cadets. I hate to admit, in all the years I've lived here, I've never been to it, so it was wonderful. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for filling in for me.
Yeah,
too.
well, in a roundabout way, but it was my pleasure, definitely my
Right.
pleasure.
Councillor Chanel?
Just one step, because people always question the FCM importance, because there's always the Alberta in every province, so I attended the Alberta meeting. Alberta, again, sent the second most highest, with nearly 500 Albertans going to FCM.
Wow, out of the
So I
2,000
feel
people.
Alberta must
Wow.
be getting value out of it, not just
Supporting
FCM,
the people.
because there's nearly 500 Albertans attended. and it was a good Alberta meeting, so there is value because a lot of Alberta.
Or do our municipalities have more money?
And I think I should mention that, an interesting note, we did have a resolution on caribou,
Yes.
which is important to our region,
Yeah.
which kind of got interesting with some of the comments from
Yes.
folks from BC, which one of the councillors made something derogatory towards Alberta, but that was interesting. It was important to get that motion passed, so we can lobby our federal government to ensure communities are involved when dealing with species at risk and caribou, and I was glad that Alberta was there because that
Yes.
motion could have been defeated. So, all right, we'll move on. Can I get a motion, please, that the account listing be accepted for information?
Make that motion.
Councillor Bevan makes that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Moving on to questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting. Go ahead, Ms. Tate.
Mayor Zahara, is there any estimates as to cost damage to the lawn that have been done?
It's not gonna be that significant, probably a few $1,000s. We were very fortunate that the building was made of fire retardant materials, the door. I think you've probably seen some reports about that, and that there were people nearby, so the fire department was able to respond really quickly. So it is minimal damage. It could have been a lot worse, obviously, but we're fortunate that way. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Can I get a motion, please, to move in camera?
I'll make the motion, move in camera.
All right,
Can we have a 2-minute break though?
all right, that's good. That's right. Hang on, come back. Come back.
They obviously said yes.
We're all getting,
I think they're in favor.
Heading for the washroom.
thanks for that. All those in favor? Motion carried.
Okay, now let's run this again.